All right, go for it.
Good morning and happy New Year, everyone. It's the one, the only V, the Guerrilla Economist, coming to you live with my main man, CJ, aka El Cuco. And we're giving you the news, the views, and all the information that's important to you. Check us out, roguemoney.net. Follow us on Twitter at The Rogue Money and Rogue Money on Facebook, DTube, Steemit, Stitcher, Shoutcast, every single podcasting app known to humanity. You can find us there. Check out our sponsors, remaincom.net, whether you need $600,000 to start your new business or you just need $100,000 to start a new business or whatever. Maybe some investments, maybe some cryptos, maybe whatever the heck you want to do. Check those guys out at remaincom.net. They're the place for you. Also, check them out if you need your credit fixed. Go from a 500 to an 800 in no time. Make your financial health your New Year's resolution. Check out remaincom.net. And with that being said, also, guys, check out mygoldusb.com, mygoldusb.com. Get that silverback for $2.99, special price, still running it. The demand has been terrific. Excuse me. The demand has been terrific, so we're going to run that price for a while. $2.99 for the silverback, the most advanced privacy computer that is you can place in your pocket, take it anywhere with you, hook it up to any Mac or PC, and voila, you become Edward Snowden 2.0 in no time. And with that being said, also check out the cryptoschool.io, thecryptoschool.io. You want to learn what are the best cryptos? You want to learn what are the best wallets? You want to learn how to get in and out of fiat? You want to know what's on trend? Check out thecryptoschool.io. With that being said, CJ, what's up, buddy?
Hey, V, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to all of our fans. Super excited to be here this morning, V. So how are you?
I'm hanging in there, Siege. I'm hanging in there. Hold on 1 second. I just got a cough.
Yeah, I got a little bit of that too working. I think it's all this Arctic air that's going on right now.
Yeah, man. I went to the gimnasio to go lift, and it is so cold. And I've been fighting this coughing fit that I've been having for the last few months. And that cold weather just sets it off, dude. I am just not made for this cold, Siege. I don't know what else to do. I'm gonna have to move, Siege. I'm gonna have to go to Florida.
Yeah, when you wake up and it's minus 10 degrees, there's something wrong with that.
It's a problem, man. It's fit for neither man nor beast. I just can't do it. I'm getting too old for this, Siege. My joints are hurting, my hips are hurting, my shoulders are hurting, my elbows hurt, head and shoulders, knees and toes. I mean, you name it, bro. You know? So I'm just back. Sipping on my bulletproof coffee this morning. For those that don't know what bulletproof coffee is, it's a nice dark roast coffee. I put about a tablespoon of grass-fed butter. I use Kelly's Gold Irish butter. Okay, that's like the bomb butter. You can get that at the supermarket. And I use like cold press extra virgin coconut oil, and I just drop it in a blender. You can't mix it with a spoon, folks. Don't try it. Drop it in the blender. You blend it up. It looks like a latte when you're done, and it's delicious. You don't need sugar. You don't need nothing. You have that. It's like brain food, man. It's amazing. I love it. The caffeine gets to your head real good. I love it. It's like a nootropic that you can make in your own home. I love it.
Right.
I don't even know why I said that, see?
No, that's okay. It's all good. It's all good.
I'm like giving coffee recipes here.
That's all right. It is all good, my man.
Anyway, a lot of things going on. There are supposed rumors of some sort of raid at Obama's house in Thailand. Did you hear about that?
No, I have not heard that. No.
Supposedly, it's circulating through a few news outlets. Our buddy Sean at SGT Report picked it up. Bill Holter commented on it. Bill Holter actually knows somebody in the Thai government that confirmed it. And supposedly some Secret Service guy also mentioned it as well, that there was a raid on Obama's compound in Thailand. Now, before somebody laughs it off as a yuck joke, or somebody laughs it off like it's fake news or something like that, I want you to consider this. Why is Obama a target, man? Does anybody ever ask that question, Siege?
I know I do why Obama's a target, but I'm not sure if your average person does or not.
Yeah.
I'm saying that I'm special or anything like that, but obviously.
You are special, man. You're my El Cuco. No, hold on. Anyway, the reason why Obama is a very, very special target Okay. I know most of the American public has forgotten about this, and I'm not talking about Benghazi. I'm not talking about Uranium One. I'm talking about Solyndra. You remember Solyndra?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Solyndra was pretty interesting because we've had investigative journalists, many of whom have looked into Solyndra, and you know what they found out, CJ?
Go for it. What's that?
They found out that it's a bloody shell company. It's not even a real corporation. Now, you might say to yourself, well, why is that relevant? Well, here's why it's relevant. Solyndra, under Obama, was given $2.2 billion. Let that sink in. $2.2 billion from taxpayer money. And Solyndra was a shell corporation. It's a shell corporation that Obama has very close ties to, and it was quickly wrapped up, folded out, and a dust-up operation was done, so there was no real paper trail leading back to the key players that are involved. But many sources are saying that Obama is a key player in it. In fact, many of the properties that he owns in a lot of Asian countries, and this guy has a penchant for Asian countries. Maybe the lady boys that he's into, I have no idea. But he has it in a lot of these Asian countries that have non-extradition treaties where they can't extradite. And the thing is, how was he able to, on his presidential income, afford any of these properties, CJ? He wasn't given the Bill Clinton speeches. He wasn't paid
Right.
$600,000 to go speak to Goldman Sachs for 5 minutes and tell them, I think you guys are great. I love Goldman Sachs. If you guys have any cigars at Goldman Sachs, you can give it to me because I love cigars. No, he wasn't given those slick willy speeches, right? So why was this guy have all these multi-million-dollar properties all over the place that are held by various shell companies? Because the whole Solyndra thing, Odumbo was one of the key operators in Solyndra. Trump supposedly knows this. Supposedly, this operation that occurred in Thailand. Now, I can't verify this 100%, so you take this with a grain of salt. You file this in the back of your head and see what plays out. That's all I'm saying. But this operation was greenlit by Trump. Now, we know right now, as it stands, there are over 10,000, CJ, 10,000 federally sealed indictments. Okay. We know as it stands today, there have been over are you ready for the pedo arrest? I don't know if I mentioned this on air, but 40,000 arrests that have occurred globally. 40,000 pedo arrests. That's huge. That's from law enforcement sources. That's from Interpol. That's from various other human rights organizations that have documented this. 40,000. I'm still trying to get all those numbers in. Okay. So there's a lot of things happening, Siege, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, just truly amazing. And then I know over the weekend, V, that there was a lot of things occurring, in particular with Iran, and you were dropping some major truth bombs on Twitter because I think it's very important and it's very timely, the actions of what we see occur in Iran right now. V,
absolutely correct. Let's talk about the crap show that's quote unquote the hashtag Iran protests. Over the weekend, if you guys have been following me on Twitter, I was like savaging people. Okay. I was literally walking up to people like it was a prison yard, and you got these guys that are, they're fresh in the prison. They like to find out who's boss, and they find out that the real guy who's running the prison yard just comes up and just shanks him in the back and keeps it moving. That's what I was doing. I was shanking people with the truth. You have guys, some of them are colleagues of mine who I greatly respect. Okay, I respect them. Okay, on a domestic front, I respect their domestic ideals, their conservative viewpoints. I unite with them on their libertarian levels, the whole 9 yards. But in terms of international politics, they have no freaking clue. They are clueless. Clueless. Now, I told you guys already what are the best outlets for international commentary. I've said guys like Jim Willey, London Paul, Harley Schlanger, the LaRouche Pact and Schiller Institute. That's it. That's all I know. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but that's all I know. Nobody else in the freaking internet that I know of has that type of scope or understanding. I mean, also Pepe Escobar. There's a few others. But those are the big major players. Now, everybody's like tweeting. Donald Trump is tweeting like, "Oh, the Iranians, they're killing the people." Blah 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 blah. Let me break it down, okay? First of all, we know there was a crackdown. These protests. Let me tell you guys something, okay? These protests supposedly, the narrative that is being spinned out, the narrative that has been created for these Iran protests, is that these are an organic protest. They just spontaneously happened, right? Folks, this is BS. And number two, they were saying that these protests occurred because of the economic trouble and toil that's happening. And this is what they serve you people in the West. This is what they serve us. Are you ready for this? They're saying, CJ, that the recent spark to the protests is because of chicken egg prices. And quote, this is by Reuters, a recent increase in egg and poultry prices by as much as 40%, which the government has blamed on a cull over avian flu fears, appears to have been the spark for the economic protests. Do you see how dumb they view you, the American public? And do you see how dumb the American public is to, not all, not the ones that listen to this program, not the ones who are awoken to the international game at hand, but the masses. Do you see how dumb the masses are to, oh yeah, it was because chicken egg prices were through the roof. And then they say, oh, you know, the Iranians, you know, the women, it's women's rights and they want to be free of the hijab. Do the women want to be free of the hijab? Yeah. Of course. But did you know the Iranian police have said we're not going to arrest anybody because they're not wearing a hijab? Did you guys know that? That was months ago. So now they're protesting for chicken egg prices is the main trigger. Because damn it, CJ, if I can't get my egg McMuffin or my omelet done in the morning, I'm going to go out and protest because chicken egg prices are up. Can we let's put that to the test? Okay, let's put that to the test. Who came up with this chicken egg narrative? Was it not the mainstream media? And who exactly is the mainstream media that has full operational carte blanche? Who is the Western source, CJ, of the Western media that's in Iran, that has operations in Iran? Okay, the only one.
That wouldn't happen to be the BBC, would it?
Would that be the British Broadcasting Corporation, the BBC? And what happened to the BBC, CJ? What did the Iranian court do to 150 BBC staffers?
Yeah, so the Iranian court freezes assets of more than 150 BBC staff. And this occurred that the BBC staff and contributors have borrowed from major financial transactions in Iran, the Iranian court, and as an order seen by Reuters as a fresh step, as they're going to play against foreign media, however, probably infiltrating and helping with some of the rise that we're witnessing over the weekend, B.
Absolutely. All individuals on the list work or have worked for the BBC Persian part of the BBC World Service. A Reuters correspondent who was working for the BBC until 2015 was also on the list. The order was issued by the prosecutor's office based on event precedent in Tehran and ratified by the Iran's deputy blah, blah, blah. Why all of a sudden they decided to say, hey, you know what? We're going to start freezing. We started freezing assets of the BBC. They started doing that back in August. And they continue to do that. Why? Because they understood that the BBC in the West was actively, they were actively engaged and propaganda. And that's why immediately the Iranians right now have, they've clamped down on the internet because they understand that these NGOs that are in operation, these covert Western operatives that are in operation in Iran, are using the internet, are using Twitter to organize these quote-unquote protests. These aren't, believe me, these aren't protests over chicken egg prices, mind you. Now let's look at the narrative of what they're saying, that it's because of all the economic turmoil. Folks, let me tell you something about the Persian economy. The Iranian economy is doing quite well. Okay, quite well. They've been doing well since 2015. They've been surviving under the most heinous sanctions that would have crushed most countries. They've weathered the storm. And in 2015, they've been doing quite well. Well, what do you mean they've been doing quite well, V? Well, here's the deal. Okay. This is an article the 1st of December, before any of these protests have happened. On December the 1st of 2017, China pumps billions into Iranian economy as Western firms hold off. Chinese firms making big, major inroads into the country's economy as European businesses worry about risk of fresh U.S. sanctions. I want you to think about that, right? So the Chinese rush in and started investing in Iran. They've always been investing in Iran. They've been doing a lot of business there. But even with the sanctions that have been lifted by Odumbo in 2015, the Europeans were holding back. Why? Why were European captains of industry holding back? Simple. Because the deep state went in and said, hey, you know what? We're going to overturn Iran. And then Western business, European business held back because they knew what was coming. What did they know that was coming? They knew that the chicken egg revolution was happening, CJ. They knew the protests over chicken egg prices were about to start. And they decided to hold back. Why? Because the deep state has promised them, hold back. We're going to try and overturn and subvert the country of Iran, similar to what we've done to Syria, similar to what we've done to Libya. Even though the deep state has failed in every single one of those locations, that's not going to stop these sycophant psychopaths from trying. And now the chicken egg revolution. That's what I'm going to call it, CJ. I've officially titled this the chicken egg revolution.
I like it.
Yeah. The chicken egg revolution is in full force now. China is financing billions of dollars worth of projects in Iran, making deep inroads into the economy. Freed from crippling nuclear sanctions 2 years ago, Iran is drawing unprecedented funding from everything from railways to hospitals. State-owned investment arm CITIC Group recently established a $10 billion line of credit, and China Development Bank is considering another $15 billion more. The Western firms had better come quickly to Iran, otherwise China will take over, said Farel Mustafi, said the Iranian Chamber of Commerce's Investment Commission, speaking on the sidelines of the Iran-Italy investment meeting in Rome. The Chinese funding is by far the largest statement of investment intent on any country in Iran, is in stark contrast to the drought facing Western investors since U.S. President Donald Trump disavowed the 2015 pact agreed by major powers, raising the threat of sanctions could be reimposed. And the sanctions don't mean nothing to Iran, folks, because they know that. Okay, the European countries, anybody wants to do business with Iran, you think Europe, let me ask you guys a question. Do you think Europe stopped? They stopped investing because, the Americans might use sanctions. You think that's why? No, they stopped because they smelled a coming chaos. They smelled a coup d'etat that was coming, a la Syria 2.0. They smell that. Because U.S. sanctions don't mean nothing anymore. How many European countries are signed on to the AIIB? How many? Germany is. UK is. France is. Italy is. They're all signed on as members of the AIIB. They are also meaning that, you know what that means? That means they have access to the SIPs, the China Interpayment Systems. They can go ahead and invest in Iran without worrying about U.S. sanctions, folks. because U.S. sanctions would do nothing. And the Europeans have already said, "Oh, this is a terrible idea. We don't want you to go ahead and have these sanctions on Iran." The Europeans have already stood off, and they draw the line in the sand that they're not for the rescinding of this nuclear treaty, the Iran deal, so to speak. Why? Because there's money to be made, and the God knows that European economies that are dead and dry and driveling and shriveling needs that investment. They need some of that money that's in Iran. But leave it to the good old US of A to stick their nose where it doesn't belong. So now we have the chicken egg revolution. And they're selling you the false lie that it's because the price of chicken eggs have went up 40%. That is the quote unquote the trigger. It has been the spark, quote unquote, as Reuters would put it, for the economic protests. I want you to think about how stupid that is. But that's how stupid your rulers think that you are, but you know better. I mean, think about it. Iran official says the deals are part of Beijing's. Are you ready for the CJ? Almost $130 billion Belt and Road Initiative. Ding, ding, ding. Folks, why is Syria being disrupted? Because of the One Belt, One Road Initiative. America doesn't like it. Why is Afghanistan being disrupted? Why is the deep state in Afghanistan? Well, number one, for the narcotics, because they love their opium. And number two, because of the One Belt, One Road Initiative. Why is Iran being hit all of a sudden? And as these quote-unquote chicken egg revolution begins, there are attacks on Iran's pipelines, man. Who the hell is attacking Iran's pipelines? Well, it just so happens to be out of nowhere, CJ. Drum roll, please, CJ. Drum roll for this, please. Bum, bum, bum. ISIS shows up in Iran's borders, and they're attacking pipelines. So ISIS, who right now is basically a no name, no mention, no nothing, nobody, non-existent. This is rare as Hillary Clinton walking through the woods of Chappaqua these days. In Syria, all of a sudden ISIS shows up in Iran. How did they get there? Did they drive? See, let me ask you: how did ISIS traverse 2,000 miles? Did they drive their was it a convoy of 3,000 Toyota Hilux pickup trucks with the Border Patrol package and the 50 cals in the back with the caliphate flags and the screen printed T-shirts and the 40 Twitter accounts, and they were tweeting as they drove 2,000 miles through Syria, through Iraq, all the way across into Iran? How do they do that?
It's amazing, isn't it, B?
Yes. They just want you, the people, to think that miraculously ISIS just shows up, like voila, out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. And now you have pictures of kids. And isn't it funny, CJ, that, and I tweeted about this, something's very fishy about these protests, because I am Mahiba, I am 6 years old, I am from Iran, it is terrible here, the chicken egg prices are so high, I cannot even eat my kebab. It's the same girl that they used in Syria. The same child actors and crisis actors they used in Syria. Dude, it's a production company. Okay, it's like a Broadway production, this ISIS. You have ISIS, you have the white helmets, you have these child actors and crisis actors. When they failed miserably in Syria, what do? They didn't just go home. They didn't go home to their goat brothels from whence they came. No, they packed up and they, voila, magically appeared on the doorsteps of Iran, and they're running the same game on you. And pundits here in the U.S. who voted for Trump, who are part of the libertarian movement, who are part of this and part of that, are now saying, yes, Iran is the axis of evil. And I'm over there savaging anybody. I even said to even what that guy's name is, was it Mike Cernovich? I'm like, you ain't got no sources in Persia. Knock it off, dude. Knock it off. I even offered him. I said, you know what? I'd be glad to debrief you on what the hell's really going on in Iran, and it'll make your eyes water. It will open. It'll be an eye opener for you. I said. No takers, of course. Jack Posobiec, same thing. I said, Jack, you really don't understand what's going on in Iran. With all due respect. With all due respect. Iran's so evil. They're the biggest evil. These are coming from people who have no understanding of that region of the world. They don't understand the culture. They don't understand the history, the geostrategic importance into the coming multipolar world. Do you think I'm a fan of Iran and I love their laws? Hell freaking no. But if I got to say, hey, you know what? The Obor has to go through Iran, I'm going to support that. You know why? Because the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I hate globalists. I hate neocons. I hate neoliberals. I hate the sycophants who wave the American flag and pretend to prance on the Constitution while they get us involved in all sorts of endless wars. I hate that. So I'm going to root for them to bring about the multipolar world. Why? Because the current state of the American system is an inequitable system that we no longer have power over. It's been taken over by a parasitic banking cartel. So people were saying Iran is the biggest supporter. Who created Al Qaeda, CJ? Was it Iran?
No.
Who created ISIS, CJ? Was it Iran?
No.
Who created Hamas? Who created any of these terror groups? Was it 19 hijackers who flew their planes into the Trade Center? Were they Iranian?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, they were Saudi.
They sure weren't.
And what's being said about the Saudis? Nothing, not a peep. And now we have U.S. intelligence reportedly gives Israel the green light to assassinate Iran's top general. What if somebody said, and Russia's intelligence agency gives Iran the green light to assassinate America's top general? What would the backlash be publicly here, CJ?
Oh, there'd be cries for war. There would be, yeah, that would not sit well with the U.S.
Correct. Now you have Mossad hit squads. And they've done this before, very sloppily, might I add, where they assassinated a scientist in Iran a few years ago while the guy was sitting in rush hour traffic in his car. They just came by and popped him on a motorcycle. Okay, they came by, somebody in the back with a machine gun. They had a guy like a bomb, threw the bomb at the car, blew him up, killed the guy. They've done this. Mossad does this all the time, very sloppily, very sloppily. According to the reports circulating widely in the Israeli media today, the United States has quietly given Israel the green light to assassinate Iran's top military officer, Iranian Revolutionary Guards Al-Quds Force Major General Qasem Soleimani. The leader of Iran's most elite force also coordinates military activity between the Islamic Republic, Syria, Iraq, Hezbollah, and Hamas. That's bullshit. He doesn't coordinate with Hamas. Hamas and Hezbollah are rivals. Hamas was created by Mossad as a counterbalance to Hezbollah. Hamas is a terror group. The position he's filled since 98, and as the Quds Force commander, reportedly directly to the supreme leader of Iran, the Ali Khamenei, and oversees Iran's covert operations in foreign countries. This guy's a smart dude. Okay? This guy's a smart dude. And he is somebody that coordinates a lot of these actions here. He's one of the guys who were very instrumental in taking down ISIS. Very instrumental. Okay? Very instrumental in defeating ISIS. And they want to make sure they greenlight an assassination hit on this guy? Like, what the hell are we doing, bro?
Insane, baby.
What the hell are we doing? And at the same time, we're pumping the same media that's pumping Russophobia is now pumping Iran is the biggest supporter of terror. And that's a bunch of bullshit. Okay? Then you have Iran's iron fist unleashed revolutionary guards take over security as Israel praises freedom fighters. Oh, God. Netanyahu, who needs a beautiful distraction right now because of all the drama that's coming his way. Netanyahu, who needs this, welcome distraction, as now he's praising the freedom fighters. Praising the freedom fighters. Now they have ISIS operating in Tehran. We heard about 13 people killed. Now, CJ, how many times they say, 12 protesters were killed, 13 protesters were killed? The question is, who the hell are these protesters, right?
Right. Who are they?
Who the hell are these protesters? And my whole thing is this, right? Well, we find out who these protesters are. Because that's what they're pumping into your heads. They're pumping into your heads every couple of minutes. 12, hundreds arrested, and 12 protesters were killed. And you're thinking to yourself, my God, they were killed. They were probably holding signs. They were holding signs and saying, we are hell no. We want omelets. Hell no. We want chickens. Hell no. Right? They're probably so angry because the egg prices are up 40%. They're very angry. Well, here's who I want to tell you exactly who these protesters are. Violent protests and approximately 12, actually more than 12, a bunch of armed protesters. They weren't armed protesters. These were ISIS characters. I can confirm that to you. These were ISIS terrorist Sunni. There is a Sunni operation funded by and cleared with Saudi Arabia. Okay. Sunni operation of armed rebels that they're calling protesters, CJ. What did they try to do? Were they holding signs? No. They were taking their machine guns and grenades, and they were trying to overrun military bases before the security forces repelled them and killed 12 to 13. 12 to 13 that were killed. Think about that for a second. During the 5 days of unrest, the death toll has reached 13. And a police officer was also died. Think about that. These weren't, they're calling them protesters. See, when do protesters wear body armor, slap on a couple of AK-74s, a couple of grenades, and try to storm a military base? When do protesters do that?
You don't see that often, do you?
Exactly. The strike force that tried to hit that military base was probably close to 50 guys. They were repelled because they are a bunch of punks. They didn't fight well. They're not even Iranian. They're Arab. You have Arab ISIS individuals operating in Persia, in Iran. 40 to 50 some odd of these guys try to attack a military substation, military, little base over there. The forward operating base that was set up. They try to attack it. They were repelled. 13 of them got killed. And the media says, they were protesters. Do you see how we're getting played here, folks? Do you see how we're getting played? This has MI6, CIA, and Mossad fingerprints all over it. Okay? According to Reuters, the last 3 other policemen were wounded after a man opened fire with a rifle in the midst of demonstrations. Come on, what is going on here? It's mostly demonstrators are reported shot. That's what they say. Mostly demonstrators are the ones getting shot. Really, I just said that the only dead that were killed were the 13 that tried to storm a military base. And reports are coming in of armed rioters. Wow. Armed rioters. Where'd that come from? And all this is happening. You have armed rioters. You got guys storming military bases. And Netanyahu is out there tweeting that these guys are freedom fighters. Freedom fighters, man.
Insane. Crazy. Craziness, V.
Yeah, absolutely nuts, bro. That's my take on the Iran situation, guys. I recommend you go back and listen to this. What I just said. It's a problem. It's not real. It's not. This is completely contrived. It's completely a deep state operations, man. Unreal. Go ahead, Siege.
Yeah, just one other quick points, and all those are spot on. V is the fact that with OPEC, they have lost the ability to control the oil prices of what Iran is doing, and Iran continues to pump out more oil, selling it outside of the petrodollar. And then, interesting enough, which is deeply impacting the Saudi kingdom, the UAE and Saudi Arabia introduced yesterday a 5% VAT tax as oil revenue slumps.
Unreal, man. Unreal.
So it's all tied together. It's all intertwined, and people need to understand that.
10 people killed on the night of the protest. State TV reports, but they don't report who it is. It's all about don't you care about the women? They're living in such. Okay, let me break it down for you guys. If you're a woman in Iran, do you have to wear a hijab? Yes and no. Depending on where you are. Tehran, cops from nowadays don't really bother you. But they're going to repeal that law. Because here's the deal. If you're a woman in Iran, guess what you can do? You can go to university. You can go to college. You can drive a car. You can own your own business. And there are hundreds of women that are participating in they can hold parliamentary and government positions in Iran. Did you guys know that? That's the reality of it. It was just, a couple of weeks ago? A month ago that Saudi Arabia gave women the right to drive a car in a very limited way in Saudi Arabia? This is what I'm saying. We're supporting the wrong people here, man. The Iranians are people that we should have supported from Jump Street, but instead we support the House of Fawd. I have a problem with that, Siege. But for the women, we have to save the women. They say these lines because they understand that the brain-dead Western white knight cuckold responds to such juvenile, idealistic axioms. They say, it's for the women. We have to protect the women. Don't you want women to have the freedom in the wind? Don't you want them to live the life without a burqa? I mean, a hijab so their hair could blow in the wind and they could try Pantene Pro V. And they can use hair products, and they're repressed. And the white knight, virtue signaling, brain dead, cuckold Western male mind with his low testosterone levels immediately interjects and says, oh yeah, we got to do something. We got to kill them, man. They're evil regime, man. They're the terrorists. The terrorists, biggest funders of terror in the world. Look how they treat the women. Not knowing that their women have the right to own businesses, not knowing their women can go to school, get a university education. Their women have seats in government and parliament. Women can drive a car. They can walk down the street without their husbands. They can do all these things. See, did you know there's a muscle car culture in Iran? Did you know that?
I didn't know that. Not at all. That's interesting.
Yeah. Muscle cars are huge. Yeah, because when the Iranian Revolution occurred, you had all these muscle cars that were left there from the 70s. Kind of like the whole Cuba thing. But these guys keep them, they restore them, and even with the sanctions, I mean, you go there, man, you get, you'll see the muscle cars, you'll see the, 71 Corvettes, the 427s, you'll see, Chevy, Chevy SSs, Camaro SS, Mustangs, I mean, you Challengers. You see them all. There's a muscle car culture there. And young guys would bring their girlfriends. Oh, my God. And they hang out like it's the 50s. They bring out their cars. They go to car shows or kick back. They'll, eat some food. They'll have some drinks. It's very modern. But we can't have that, can we? Can't have that. Because the women are so oppressed. This is the shenanigans that's happening, bro. And that's my take on the whole Iranian thing. I got a lot more to say as more things will happen, but we got, London poll coming up. Anyway, CJ, what else we got on the news, man?
Yeah, check it out. Yesterday we launched Rogue 420.net.
Yes.
So there's an associated website with that, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and all that kind of good stuff. So go check that out. And then that there's more to come for 2018. So stay tuned. And 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the Serious Report with London Paul. I know he has a lot on his mind to say as we move into 2018. So great stuff ahead, V.
Absolutely. And folks, check us all out again, roguemoney.net. With that being said, also go to rogue420.net, rogue420.net. Join the cannabis revolution, endocannabinoid oils, you name it, we got it. Go check it out. On and on and on. Great interviews there with my man El Cuco running the show over there. With that being said, we're over and out. Take it away, CJ.